So from Oldham, please cast your vote and then explain.
Thank you. I'd like to cast an aye vote and thank the senator from Clark for carrying this legislation. This is a difficult subject to discuss, and we've had these conversations in chambers before, and I'll keep my comments brief in explaining my aye vote. What we've seen with the overreach of this governor in this executive order is a true overreach of First Amendment rights and religious freedom. There are those who believe in absolute truth as a religious fundamental foundation, and to say that they cannot speak freely that truth over a person's life who comes to seek counsel is wrong. It is against their religious freedom. It's against their First Amendment rights of free speech, and this governor has no business doing that. So to stop this executive order is an important thing to do. It sends a message, hopefully one that he'll hear, that he does not have the authority to take away constitutional rights of American citizens in regard to the First Amendment. And I will say, just in general, we hear said often the dangers of what conversion therapy can do to patients, and the dangers that could happen to these children who seek counsel and whose parents have the freedom to seek that counsel. What we don't talk about is the dangers of what happens to a child who's told something that is not true over their life over and over and over again. And we need to start allowing children to grow and develop and process those things on their own, and not be forced to affirm them in a position that is contrary to reality. Thank you.
Let's talk about that absolute truth for a second. The absolute truth is that Andy Beshear's order does nothing to infringe upon someone's First Amendment rights or a right to exercise their religion. All that Andy Beshear's executive order does is it addresses the medical and psychological impact of conversion therapy, and the fact that medical organizations from the American Psychological Association, the American Medical Association, and others have all come out and said conversion therapy does not work. Indeed, it is cruel, and therefore it should not be an accepted practice among medical professionals, psychological professionals providing therapy to children. That's what this order addresses. So I'm not sure why she thinks it infringes upon her religious rights, because Lindsey Tichenor is still free to say to her own child and others, hey, you're awful because you're gay. You're evil because you're gay. You're evil because you're trans. She can still say that. Her pastor can still say that. Nothing in this executive order would infringe upon that. The problem is when you take it to a medical setting, a psychological setting, and want to use it as a therapy, again, an ineffective and cruel therapy, that's what he's addressing here. But let's look at this executive order in context with Lindsey's remarks. From this executive order, Beshear has stated the practice of so-called conversion therapy or reparative therapy is particularly harmful to LGBTQ plus youth. The intent of this practice is to change an individual's sexual orientation or gender identity. Methods include inversion therapy, talk therapy, shaming, and hypnosis, among other techniques. Conversion therapy rests on the premise that an LGBTQ plus individual's identity is pathological and can be repaired or fixed. This false premise has no basis in medicine or science. According to such organizations as the American Medical Association, the American College of Physicians, and the American Psychiatric Association, the dangerous practice of conversion therapy can cause significant long-term harm to LGBTQ plus youth, including anxiety, depression, internalized homophobia, lowered self-esteem, self-blame, alienation, loneliness, social isolation, loss of social supports, and suicidal behaviors. The Trevor Project's 2023 survey showed that LGBTQ plus youth who were subjected to conversion therapy reported more than twice the rate of suicide attempts in the past year compared to those who were not subjected to it. So with all of that in mind from Governor Beshear's executive order, let's take a listen again to the last part of Lindsey Tichenor's speech. See if you see the irony here.
What we don't talk about is the dangers of what happens to a child who's told something that is not true over their life over and over and over again. And we need to start allowing children to grow and develop and process those things on their own, and not be forced to affirm them in a position that is contrary to reality. Thank you.